Hello there, viewers. Welcome back to the channel. This is Maverick here with episode 2 of Deca-Dence. So, last episode we were introduced to the series, and there are quite a lot of intriguing things here so far, right? First of all, Deca-Dence turned out to be this huge mobile fortress that can also transform itself to fight against other enemies, monsters that are of its same size and whatnot, and one of its ultimate weaponry is apparently punching the monsters right in the face, right in the chest or whatnot. That was completely awesome there. I really love the entire aesthetic that we have going on with the really high tech, even alien, you might say, in sort of in its aspect and its aesthetic, and yet it also has this really low tech kind of aesthetic going for it as well. Very, I wouldn't really say steampunkish, but how should I put it? Just that post-apocalyptic kind of feeling, right? Where you're using scrap metal, you're using things that are just hand welded together. It's not smooth, it's not pretty, but it gets the job done. It's heavy, it's functional, it's ugly, and whatnot. I do really love this sort of mix between these two here. And not only that, we also have this sort of underlying mystery, right? Like, what exactly happened to this world? What exactly is going on with Deca-Dence itself? We see at the very end there some, I guess, robotic creatures running around and whatnot, and apparently we see some remnants of them in the formerly destroyed cities on Earth as well. So there's definitely a mystery here, and probably going to hold the it's going to hold the mystery of why human civilization was wiped out and now all humans are living on this mobile fortress, right? There's definitely some questions that we need to ask and be answered, and that's probably going to be the major driving point of this series. I likened it to Attack on Titan in a lot of ways, right? Where we have these people, dashing around, these small, fragile humans dashing around fighting against monsters that are many times their size and whatnot. And then we also have this dark, potentially dark, anyways, mystery in regards to the history of humans and what actually came to be and whatnot. So it definitely gives off that kind of feel and vibe. So, let's just keep on watching and see if it's going to keep up the good story. Alright, let's continue in 3, 2, 1, play. Oop. Whoops. Okay, there we go. Like, look at that. Like that sort of, it's almost like a muscle tendon here. And that engine back there, that afterburner there. Oh, look at that. That just looks so awesome. They actually burned them. Right. Solid Quick Corporation. What? 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 This is... What? I did not see this coming at all. Holy shit, so the world has already been taken over by the machines and robots. Oh my god. Holy shit, I did not see that twist coming at all. That is awesome. I like how they have that matrix there as well. Yeah, so this is so fake. Well, kind of real, but kind of bug. Ah, so that's why. So these humans can be controlled because they're being controlled by these robots, right? Holy shit. But man, Suzuki Konomi has been on a roll lately. She's in charge of a lot of opening themes. How? I don't. Oh wow, the implications of this, man. I am just. It's like your class. Okay, this series just got like 100 times more interesting. This is Kaburagi. Right, so. So, does he. Like, does he have a conscience on this or whatnot? Does it really like doing this? Still scraping hundreds and 7 years ago. Yeah, but the human's arm is going to come off. So the robots can feel pain? Wait, so the actual soldiers are all being possessed by the robots in some way. But the other tankers aren't. And that's Minato. What the hell is... So this is a controlled environment. No wonder they have these sort of anti-gravitational devices. Okay, and they need this to refuel themselves, right? Oxy. Oxyon. Get that Game Boy down there. Oh. This is like just completely reversed from how you would normally consider these kinds of this kind of setting. But aren't these avatars actual humans? How are they controlling them? And not to mention, like, if that was the case, then what's he doing possessing the avatar and then cleaning? Property of the company. Sir? Okay, so I guess he probably released his limit and got himself killed. I mean, these are machines with emotions, they can feel pain and whatnot. What the hell is this? Alright, something's gonna go wrong here, right? He is making this way too obvious. The hell? Oh. So I guess even... Okay. So I guess those of the company are... You know, they have way more power and authority and whatnot. Is he going to be investigated? The system. Armor repair and by night a recovery. Oh, okay. Oh man, is our protagonist one of them? I'm getting a Matrix kind of situation. The chips. So the chips are what controls the humans. Hey, it's that powerful. A correctional facility for robots? Alright. I guess he's gonna go all Agent Smith on them. Scrappy. So what happens if he doesn't refill? Wait, so does she have the chip in her? How? So they can't actually fight without somebody controlling them, can they? Here. She's gonna discover. What the? What? And yeah, why isn't she being processed? They're all monitored, right? The hell? She doesn't have this chip? Damn! She's an outlier. Oh shit. No match. I'm dead. Oh, a super bug. So he's gonna refill and fight for her sake. So she's not going to be controlled by fighting on her own. But the first time she steps on a battlefield, it's going to be... You would think with this kind of technology, they wouldn't do something as stupid as not being able to recognize someone within a database. Damn. Yeah, I am really liking this so far. It's such an... It's that... I mean, I wouldn't say it's a unique concept, but utilizing this matter? Damn. Okay. Well, this is the first time we see the ending, so let's take a look at this. No, we'll discuss more after this. This song sounds eerily similar to another song, actually. I can't remember it right now. But anyways, I'll see you guys after this. Alrighty guys, that was episode 2 of Deca-Dence, and boy, this is turning out to be a very, very, very interesting sort of situation here. I definitely wasn't expecting them to actually just come out and reveal the big mystery in episode 2, but even if it was like that kind of situation, I definitely wasn't expecting one like this where, so no, how can we summarize it? Basically, the robots, the artificial intelligence, they've taken over the world, and humans are now limited to this very, very small section on Earth. That they're part of this game, and they are basically limited. The entire Earth's population is basically limited to those living on the Deca-Dence, the tankers, right? So that's what they are here. And man, I mean, that was such a subversion of tropes. Normally, you would be expecting something maybe you would be expecting something the opposite of it. So maybe like humans have created this sort of real world experience type of gameplay or whatnot, and then they might be using artificially made humans or something to fulfill these desires of adventure and combat and whatnot. Maybe something akin to Westworld in a sense, right? That's the closest analogy I can think of, but definitely not like this, where it's completely reversed and robots are ruling the world, and apparently they have need for entertainment, right? So, there's some things about all this that doesn't quite make sense from a holistic point of view, right? Like, for instance, if they are so hell bent on controlling the what do they call it, serving the system, right, and controlling them, so why give all these robots free will and their own individuality in the first place, right? You would expect them to all be linked together to the system in some way, shape, or form, and not to be each their own separate entity, right? It's kind of weird, but I guess for the sake of the story, we'll just we'll just put that aside for now. Not to mention, like, these robots here, I mean, they're definitely at the point where it is artificial intelligence, right? They can feel emotions, they have their, they have independent thinking, and apparently they can even feel pain, right? Because, or would it be pain, or would it just be like some overexertion on their mechanical parts or something? Because the limit breaking that we saw here, right? One of the root of all the problems here. Basically, they said that whatever happens to the avatars, the human, it's going to be also be transferred to the robots as well. But how exactly does that work, right? So they must be able to either feel pain, or it's going to overload their senses in a way that causes them to need to be scrapped, which is essentially dying, right? So but yeah, but putting aside those sort of minor annoyances, minor roadblocks, I think the entire concept as a whole is definitely very compelling. Now, I'm not really sure if perhaps it might be even better to just utilize humans and artificially made humans instead, right? Or perhaps even in what is more a normal kind of situation, to have humans controlling perhaps mechanoids or androids or something like that, something of that nature. But it is indeed this subversion of tropes here that's making me very compelled towards this anime. And I mean, I just think it's an awesome concept here, right? And I'm interested to see how exactly they can develop it. And of course, with all these kinds of situations, you gotta have a bug in the system, right? So typically, it would be an android or one of those artificial humans or whatnot going haywire, gaining self-sentience or whatnot, and being made aware of this larger world, this larger context at hand. Here, it is in the form of our our main protagonist, our main heroine, Natsume. Apparently, she is outside of the system. She doesn't have a chip within her, so the system doesn't recognize her and whatnot. Now, honestly, I have a lot of issues with that as well. You would think for such an advanced kind of of civilization and whatnot, that something like this could never really happen. I mean, if she goes to any single place, you would think that they track basically all of them walking everywhere, right? And if they encounter someone that isn't being properly recorded or labeled or something, it would instantly send an alert to the system. And you would think that with this kind of technology advancement and whatnot, they would take better care of inventorying their assets. Let's put it that way, right? These are machines. They're not people, right? They're not supposed to make mistakes like this. But hey, like I said, for the sake of the story, So yeah, so how exactly are we going to develop this story, right? I mean, obviously the end goal, the only end goal I can see here is for the humans to be made aware of their current situation. Like so the tankers are currently unaware, right? They need to be made aware that there's a larger world out there, and they're really only being controlled. They're like pawns to these robots here, and I would presume that they eventually gain a certain degree of freedom and whatnot, right? Now, obviously, the larger human population seems to be already eradicated. They did mention that humans are an endangered species here, right? So, how exactly is that gonna work? Maybe, at least fight for human rights and whatnot. We stand equal with the robots, something of that sort. I can only see that as the only end goal to all of this. But because we're definitely not going to see like a human uprising fighting against all the robots here, right? That's impossible. There's only a handful of them. The entire world is taken over by the robots. So, yeah, I mean, interested to see how that part develops. And another question that I do kind of have here, though, is in the setting of this. So apparently, every single human is being controlled by a corresponding robot, right? In some way, shape, or form. Every human has a chip implanted in them. So I'm thinking here is, are they being controlled 100% of the time, or are there actually sort of lapses here, right? Because we can clearly see that the robots, they need to go and do their own stuff as well. They're not, if we put the context of them sort of like being gamers in a sense, right? You can't literally just sit in front of your computer 24 hours, 7 hours a week. I mean, seven days a week and whatnot, and just continue to play the game all the time. You still gotta eat, you gotta sleep, and do other kind of stuff, right? And we can clearly see the robots also going out and refilling, socializing, and whatnot. So what happens to the avatars? What happens to the humans when they are not directly controlling it? Do they actually have a life of themselves, and it's only in specific situations where the robot can come in and basically hijack them in a sense, right? And I do believe that is the case, because at the very beginning of this episode, we can clearly see that it seems that these humans do have a life of their own, right? They marry and whatnot, they have children. So no, I think it would be a little bit too too realistic of a roleplay to have the robots also inhibiting the humans all the time, and then actually having having sex and having marriage, having sex, having a baby, and all that. So I think what happens is that only those who are basically only a select few are actually going to be well, no, actually, sorry, not a select few. Probably what I'm thinking here is that all humans have a chip implanted inside them, but only the gears, only the fighters are ones that have robots sort of hijacking their consciousness and whatnot. So the rest of the tankers, they're probably free to live their own lives, and if any of them gets a little bit too close to the truth, I assume the chip is also going to be able to kill them, knock them out, and whatnot. And then we rely on our main dude here to retrieve the chips and whatnot, so all the other humans are none the wiser, right? I think that's what it's supposed to be like. But if that was the case, so again, what happens to the gears when they aren't fighting, right? When the robots are off doing something else? Huh. I know, but I presume that's something that we'll probably explore in the next episode and whatnot. I do hope they can really make a logical explanation to all this, though, because I'm really curious to see if they can actually make this work, and if this sort of setting has any advantage over the more traditional setting, which is humans controlling artificially made humans or androids or so on and so forth, right? I mean, it's one thing to have a twist here, but a twist is exactly that, right? You're shocked by it, you're entertained by it for the very first time, and then later on, if you can't have any continuous value to it, then it's really just a novelty, right? So I do hope that it doesn't turn out to be just a novelty, and there is some actual cool things that they can develop with the story using this kind of setting. So there we go. So that was the great mystery. So that is also a very compelling part of this. The fights, the mechs, the Deca-Dence itself, the fortress, fighting against monsters. Oh, I am loving this. This is like a, I do hope that they can continue and make this story shine even more. I do hope they can make a coherent story here, because I mean, right now I am really enjoying this, and it just might be my dark horse for this season. Anyways, that's it for episode 2 of Deca-Dence. Hope you guys enjoyed this as much as I did, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.